onto the controversy that Benji craves. First, the littering and Schär's DSQ. I want to remind everyone that from April 1, which is a couple of days ago, you cannot, as a rider, throw your bidons, even to spectators. You can't litter outside of zones, green zones or whatever they're called. They're every 30 Ks and there's one on the final. You can give your bidon back to the car. You can give your bidon to a team assistant if they're outside of the zone, but you can't apparently give bidons to spectators. And Schär got disqualified for it. That's a harsh disqualification for it, Benji. To ride all winter, prepare for the Tour of Flanders, do all the tune-up races. You've got Asher needing help to disqualify someone for a rule introduced 4 days ago. It seems harsh, and I don't agree with it.
I think I've got two steps to it. One, the rule itself I find incredibly stupid. I find littering very bad, but I think there's a difference between littering and throwing a bidon to a spectator. We've had this as a part of cycling for decades, where throwing stuff to spectators is cool because then they can idolize the rider that gave it to them. These kids by the side of the road love that. And not even kids, adults as well. I would have loved to get something by Nibali at the side of the road or something by Hausler and like hang it here or something. Yeah. But looking at it from that aspect, that rule is stupid that it applies to this situation. I do think that they should penalize littering properly. I think that goes into upping the financials, not necessarily if you drop a piece of paper that you're going to be disqualified from the race. Yesterday in the GP Indurain, someone was disqualified for dropping a piece of he was being disqualified for dropping something.
He tried to put a gel
on the floor
in his back pocket, I think, and they miss it. They miss it all the time. It's windy. They race in rain. They hit bad road surfaces, and you put something in your jersey, they accidentally drop it. What if Benji, when you rip the top of a gel off, the little top bit, you don't quite leave a little bit on, and it falls out of your mouth?
7 years jail time, mate.
It's disproportionate. And on Benji's point,
of course,
someone go onto the UCI's Twitter, they won't have deleted them. How many times have they posted videos of heartwarming moments in races where riders stop and give a bidon to a spectator? I bet you they've posted it so many times. And I even saw one like a month ago, I swear. It might have been on a team. But it's something that's been part of cycling to give. And I know maybe in COVID you wouldn't want it to happen, but these rules are not related to COVID. It's to do with littering. And Steinstiels on Quickstep, and I'm using Google Translate, Benji. Maybe your Dutch is better. But he said...
I can say it if you want.
Sorry, go on.
I can say it if you want. So they had a Zoom meeting with the CPA and the UCI in which they were discussing these new rules. And one of the people from the UCI said that it was okay if it was to spectators and that they would not be fining it. They would not be penalizing this. Now we're going off the word of Steinstiels here. I also heard that Nico Dick, he works for Willerflits. He had the same thing. He mentioned that same thing. And he said that because they asked the UCI what happens in these situations, and they also got the same answer.
I got a slightly different answer.
Apparently, the jury commissaire didn't know it, so that's not too amazing because he applied it today to the bottle. But what's the worst part for me is not only that, like it's bad that the rule is bad. Like I disagree that the rule should be there in that form, that a bottle to a spectator is not okay.
So harsh.
But
it's a
I've
red
got a
card.
next point.
Think in soccer, to get a red card, you got a straight red. You got to basically seriously endanger someone or threaten a referee or something. Really bad. Go on, Benji.
It's the second race day that this is introduced, this rule. The second race day that it's being applied. Yesterday we had a DSQ for the littering. Today we started off with Terpstra doing the same thing. Same thing exactly as the dude that yesterday got disqualified, received nothing. Then in the end I also saw Holler putting something in the saddle and that dropped out. So he also didn't get a disqualification for that. And then when it comes to a bottle to a spectator, because it's probably seen as on purpose, then they apply it. So there's already differences in consistency in the rule on the first and the second race day that they apply it. So clearly the jury commissaires in the car don't have a clue what they're doing on that part.
Well, what if
Because, like, it's not consistent with each other.
what video are they using? Because me and you, if a team paid us to sit there and send in clips of the other teams littering, we could have sent in another 10 today. And do they go back and use our clips? Or do they just, whatever the team in the car see or their production van at the time see, is that what they use? I don't know. Because it's already being applied in an unfair fashion. I think just have the fines like €500 or 500 Swiss francs. That's a lot for Schär to pay. And
just do it times 5. They won't litter, but a disqualification is stupid.
And maybe there needs to be an exception to the rule. If you throw it to spectators and it's safe to do so, like not on the Poggio descent, you see a random spectator and throw it off the rock wall and it bounces back in. Okay, maybe not, but their discretion they should have used today, which doesn't exist explicitly in the rule, which is always the problem. Like what the UCI said in response to Nico Dick, which is we will use common sense. If a rider's on slow speed from the gruppetto, hands his water bottle in the hand of a child, the commissioners will not penalise. But where's that inbuilt into the rule? So you're relying on human subjectivity. Have they seen it? How do they feel on the day? And Schär, not the biggest deal in the world, like not going to win Flanders, but could have affected the race, could have brought things back for Van Avermaet. Maybe Naesen had to work earlier. What if this happens to a favourite? What happens if MVDP drops something out of his pocket in the finale of Flanders? You're going to disqualify him? Like, cycling is already viewed as a little bit of a joke by a lot of people who watched, say, in the 2000s, and there's some arcane rules, etc., as well, separate to that. You're going to make it explaining to someone, you get disqualified straight away from that, even for a mistake. No warning. It just seems excessive to me. Maybe a yellow card system. So if you do it repeated times, you get suspended for a race or, I don't know, but a straight DSQ, which came quicker than riders assaulting each other, I just can't agree with. On the other hand, got to play devil's advocate. This is the first week it's been applied. Riders have now seen this very strong example set with Schär. That may change their behaviour. What do you think about that?
I wouldn't.
Line of
No.
logic, Benji?
If I was a rider, I'd talk to every single person I know in the peloton and I'd say, how about we just stop at like 80 Ks in and we take our ball and we give it to someone by the side of the road? What are they going to do? Disqualify all of us?
Well, no, then they'd say you gave it, whereas Schär threw it. His was bad, whereas the rule doesn't really say either of them are okay.
I genuinely throw one at a spectator just for that purpose. Not at them, but like to them. I definitely wouldn't be okay with this, personally.
Yeah, anyway, I think as far as rules go, it doesn't really help safety too much, setting the example with Schär. And I'm really concerned, really worried that it's going to happen in an even bigger moment to a bigger rider and change the outcome of the race and make a bit of a mockery of the sporting result. Because the riders themselves, they took to Twitter, Greipel, Stein Steels, they're not even on Edge Citron, and they were like, this is ridiculous. Are you serious? And we saw MVDP. He hopped on a curb at least once today. It's clear as day, overhead shot. It's against the rules. Disqualification. It is against the rules. It always has been. And he does it all the time, along with other riders, taking shortcuts. Why is that not enforced? It has bearings on safety. You've heard us say this before, Benji.
Yeah.
Why, Benji, do you think they're not clamping down on that?
Because I think the peloton has clearly shown that they don't care. And we've seen half the peloton do it today, not only Van der Poel. And this is a different story for me because this is something that can endanger people. We saw it in one of the earlier races of the season. I think it was Omloop or Kuurne, where they went on to the Molenberg and they went in front of a tree or a
Behind a
pole
tree.
instead of taking the long way around. Yeah. And that is a shortcut to get on the Molenberg. And a ton of riders took that inner corner and just gained 20
They nearly
positions.
took out a
but
woman.
there was also a spectator standing there, and they almost hit her at like proper speed. And that's not okay. We saw, I don't know what happened, but I think a few years ago, a Skyrider in Tour of Flanders 2017 or 18 is my guess. We had a Skyrider that was on the right side of the road, and he rode through the public back onto the road, and he got disqualified for it. So it has been used before, but they just don't do it anymore. It was a topic in the media, and I think that's why they applied it, because it was said so much that that was an issue. And then suddenly, it's like nobody cares anymore when it comes to the UCI. And we saw it last year, I think, at, was it Big Bang or something, where Schär
did it. They maybe gave him a time penalty. But anyway.
Yeah. And then took it back. They
Really?
took the time penalty back the day after.
I didn't know that.
And that's the weird part about it.
All right. We don't need to convince you of rule inconsistency. That was the discussion about the Schär disqualification. Let us know in the comments if you're watching on YouTube or LRCP clips what you think about it, what you think needs to change.